Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Police say a man is dead because he was shot in Durham. We are taking you to the crime scene and explaining what police say led to this happening late last night.
And checking radar, we're looking at heavy rain across parts of the Triangle area. It is definitely affecting your morning commute. I'll show you what to expect heading out the door.
And the WRAL Storm Tracker is on the road as we see scattered showers this morning, little pockets of rain we keep driving through. We have a live look at what you may experience during your morning commute. And Wake schools are nearly $800 million behind in maintenance costs. The update that we are expecting today about all of those backups. That obviously a big story, but the weather turning into a big one as well. Thanks for joining us here on WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood. Let's get things over right now to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. Elizabeth, we keep seeing things develop this morning. That system just keeps on pushing.
It does. Take a look here at what's happening now from I-85 all the way down through Johnston County toward I-95. We're seeing rain heavy at times. It keeps developing from the west and pushing into our area. Still a few isolated cells that are down around Sanford and Fayetteville, but most of the rain is happening from Chapel Hill to Durham and then back over toward Raleigh, Wendell, down toward Smithfield, Wilson's Mills, pushing over toward I-95 and stretching all the way up to the I-85 corridor. We're seeing scattered showers from Durham up through Creedmoor and Henderson right now as well. So it is making for some really messy conditions. We'll continue to see some of that redeveloping for the next few hours, but gradually as we get closer to lunchtime, we see it lifting northward and potentially eastward, redeveloping again during the evening commute with the potential for some heavy rain. With heavy rain developing in the same places over and over, we may end up with some minor flooding as we continue to see this rain on and off pretty much all day. In Lewisburg, we have some wet conditions you'll run into. 71 degrees right now with a dew point of 69, so it's warm and sticky start. We'll see highs in the upper 70s this afternoon. Checking in on the tropics, the 8 a.m. advisory, similar to what we saw at 5 a.m. The storm is moving northwest at 9, 35 mile per hour wind. Not yet a tropical depression or a tropical storm, but likely to be later on today. It could be a Category 3 storm before it makes landfall in the Big Bend of Florida. And then the center of circulation could be a little closer to us. We're seeing the potential for some heavier rain than it looked like yesterday. I'll show you what we could expect here on Friday. Coming up,
At
Ken.
8:02, Elizabeth, a real messy morning commute this morning as we combine the live traffic sensors with the dual Doppler 5000. We have the WRAL Storm Tracker out on the roadways this morning. Kelsey Coffey giving us a real close look at what conditions are like in Wake County. Kelsey, what are you seeing?
Ken, right now we're seeing some heavy rain here in Wendell. We're on 64 West and we're headed back towards Raleigh now. So we'll give you a live look now at road conditions. Really just heavy rain really throughout the entire morning. You see that we are slowed down quite a bit as we're experiencing some traffic, which is normal as we're in the height there of the morning commute. But also, this rain is going to impact your visibility. So be sure just to be careful. Give yourself a little bit of extra time. Ken, what else can you tell folks about their morning drive?
Yeah, some really good advice there. And of course, if your windshield wipers are going this morning, also make sure your headlights are on. And if you come across a crash, make sure that you move over one lane, which is the law, and give law enforcement officers an opportunity to work those crash scenes safely. This is a real troubled spot for us this morning in I-540, those westbound lanes. We did some checking a little while ago. We're working to figure out exactly what's going on. But there was a crash on I-540 near Falls of Neuse Road earlier that's completely cleared right now. But in terms of the delay, this is what we're looking at. When you're looking at I-540 this morning, you're looking at an 18-minute delay. So keep that in mind as you're about to head out. As Kelsey just mentioned, leave the house a little sooner than usual just to be on the safe side. Isolating the Beltline this morning, we got the congestion building on the south side of the Beltline as well as the north side of the Beltline as well. And elsewhere, we see all these incidents dotting our live traffic sensors this morning just to give you an idea how messy the morning commute is. We'll let you know exactly what you're looking at in terms of the trouble spots. You're looking at a 13-minute delay coming in from Apex on US 1. The other trouble spot, US 1, our good friends of Wake Forest, you're looking at a 21-minute delay. And of course, those 87 southbound lanes coming in from Knightdale, you're looking at a 7-minute delay. And those westbound I-40, you're looking at a 9-minute delay this morning.
Ken, thank you. Your time is 8:04 this morning. Authorities say a man was killed because of a shooting on Holloway Street in Durham. This happened just after 11:30 last night, close to Long Meadow Park. Investigators found the man with multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to the hospital, but again, he died. Police do not have anyone in custody, not just yet.
Jeff, welcome to the WRAL Live Center. A major update to a story we've been following all throughout the overnight hours. Diamond Kennedy, you see her in this mugshot right here. She's been arrested because of that Western Boulevard crash that happened right near Dix Park. We're going to show you video here of that scene where the car crashed into a tree, crossed the median there. Diamond Kennedy has been arrested for this. There were 6 people in the car. She was the driver. There were 5 kids under the age of 10. 3 of them were seriously hurt. She was doing 60 in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, and the charges, there are a lot of them. Felony child abuse causing serious injury, failure to secure kids in their seatbelts. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt either, the driver. Speeding, reckless driving. She was driving with a revoked license due to a previous driving while impaired charge.
Oh, goodness, and we certainly want to check on those kids. Thank you, Jeff. A Johnston County deputy and another person are hurt because of a crash during a chase. Authorities say the deputy collided with a pickup truck at the intersection of Brightleaf Boulevard and Ava Gardner Avenue. This is in Smithfield around 8:30 last night. Both the deputy and the driver of the pickup are expected to be okay. The pickup truck was not the vehicle the deputy was chasing. The driver the deputy was chasing was able to get away. But we are working to learn why the deputy even started the chase. Election Day is 6 weeks from today, and if you requested an absentee ballot, it's about to be mailed to you. Election officials will start sending more than 166,000 ballots today. Let's bring in WRAL's Laura Levine. She's outside the State Board of Elections office this morning. And Laura, the first votes have already been cast in North Carolina.
We have 42 days until Election Day, and starting this morning, the county boards of elections will place tens of thousands of absentee ballots in the mail over the course of the next few days. So far, the county boards have received more than 207,600 absentee ballot requests for this election. This includes more than 19,000 requests from military and overseas voters. 102 ballots have been returned by military and overseas voters whose ballots were sent to them on Friday. The state elections director says election officials have been working long hours through the night and into weekends because of that court-ordered delay in voting in the case connected to RFK getting off the ballot.
We see election officials show that commitment no matter the circumstances. We had to put forth that extra effort in 2020 to see that all voters were able to cast their ballots through a pandemic. And, this time around, it was a delay in voting, but we're going to make sure that everyone is able to cast their ballot.
She also emphasized the importance of people knowing who are voting by mail that laws have changed since 2020. So ballots will have to be delivered back to the state by Election Day or else it won't be counted. You have until Tuesday, October 29th to request a ballot by mail. Laura Levine, WRAL News. We're live in Raleigh.
Today, the Wake County School Board's Facilities Committee will meet to address nearly $800 million in deferred maintenance to schools. That includes HVAC, roofing, and other work. Leaders will look at a list of schools where maintenance upgrades are most needed. Today's meeting is at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Republican gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson's campaign is coming under even more scrutiny. Now Robinson says that he plans to, quote, go after CNN. CNN recently published a report linking Robinson to an account that posted lewd and offensive comments on a pornography website. That includes one comment where the user calls themselves, quote, a black Nazi. The report led to pressure for Robinson to drop from the race. Several of his campaign managers even resigned. Now, Robinson says that he will not leave the race. Former President Trump has in the past shown support for Robinson, but he did not mention Robinson during a rally in Wilmington on Saturday. Former Republican Governor Pat McCrory is now questioning the party's vetting process in selecting Robinson.
It's happened to both parties where if you don't do the right vetting, it will bite you at the end of a campaign when these things are released. And believe me, this was most likely released in a scheduled timing manner.
And to be clear, the people who resigned from his campaign that I mentioned were campaign members, not necessarily the manager. The Republican Governors Association says that it has no further ads for Robinson planned in the state, and Robinson has no upcoming public events listed on his campaign website. Today, a ribbon cutting will mark the ceremonial opening of the first phase of the Complete 540 project. The North Carolina Turnpike Authority will host the ceremony at 10 o'clock this morning. The road will officially open to drivers tomorrow morning. That's at 6 o'clock. The extension of the NC 540 toll road will connect the NC 55 bypass in Apex to the interchange of I-40 and NC 42 in Garner. Your time is 8:09. Today, some of the world's most influential leaders are in New York City. The big issues leaders from the United Nations are working to solve today. And a couple says a bear made its den in the crawl space under their house. But I'll let that sink in for a second. This morning, I'll let you hear why they are not fazed at all by this.
And we're looking at some, of course, wet conditions. And of course, eventually we're going to be dealing with the potential for the remnants of a hurricane. I'll show you what we're expecting as we work our way through the week.
Good morning, Lewisburg. Got your umbrella? Hope you do, because this is what you're walking outside to if you're headed out to work for your commute. You're watching WRAL News, available on Hulu and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device. And I just keep talking this morning. Here in the studio, we were hearing the rain just pelt the rooftop. It's quieter now, but I'm sure some other people are hearing it where they live right now, Elizabeth.
Boy, yeah, Lewisburg in particular. I'm not sure how good a morning it is there. Definitely looking at heavy rain across parts of Chapel Hill and Durham, and then eastern parts of Wake County, of course, parts of Franklin County heading toward the I-95 corridor, especially down in Johnston County. Pretty heavy there. All that's going to continue to slide eastward and out of the Triangle area, but it's a very slow process. We're going to zoom in here, and you can see, again, lots of rain, Chapel Hill, Durham, lots of thunderstorms along the northern edge of 540, a lot of heavy rain. Just, kind of keeps on going. No matter where you're traveling in the Triangle, it's pretty messy. It has tapered off a little bit in Roxborough, but as you travel up I-85, up towards Roanoke Rapids, we're still seeing a lot of rain. And this is new. We have a new flood advisory that's in effect for parts of Durham County and Wake County. We already have seen about 3/4 of an inch to an inch in that area, and with more rain on the way, there could be some minor flooding. Just keep your eye on that. Keep a lookout for it. We've had some heavier rainfall in the northern part of Orange County, as much as almost 2 inches so far. Southern Wake County, almost an inch, so it's been coming down. Already, we're now the 4th wettest September to date and the wettest year to date, so almost 9 inches so far for this month, and we're going to see more of it over the next few days. This afternoon, we'll continue to see scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms. That continues through the evening commute, especially in some of our eastern and northern counties. So that rain keeps on coming. And then Wednesday, we'll wake up to some scattered showers and storms. Hopefully that's going to pull on out, and we may even see a little bit of sunshine by the end of the day on Wednesday. So Wednesday shouldn't be quite as wet as today. Checking that tropical system, Helene is likely to form in the next 24 hours. Could be a major hurricane as it makes landfall in Florida. We'll see heavy rain, isolated tornadoes, and windy conditions. Here's where the storm is right now. It has winds at 35 miles per hour. The hurricane hunters are going to explore it today and potentially go ahead and call it a tropical storm later on. It's a Category 1 storm by tomorrow, and then Category 3 by Thursday, making landfall. And the path is a little bit closer to us today than it was yesterday, and that's bumping up our potential for rainfall. You can see the storm moving northward and making landfall during the evening on Thursday, and then spreading all this rain into North Carolina. Mountains of North Carolina are going to get hit pretty hard. It actually gets swept up in this low pressure system, and coming up in about 25 minutes, meteorologist Chris Michaels is going to talk more about what that effect will have as it gets swept up into that low. The best chance for flooding is going to be down to the south, but look at all this rain that we'll likely see. We're going to see the highest totals in western North Carolina, and we're looking at easily 2 to 3 inches in our viewing area, and that is up considerably from what we were expecting as we looked at it yesterday. Friday is going to be the day that we have the best chance of seeing that heaviest rain and wind. We'll keep our eye on it, Ken.
8:16, Elizabeth, a messy morning commute. As you can see, all the incidents dotting our traffic map this morning. We do have the WRAL storm tracker out on the roadways this morning. Kelsey Coffey giving us a closer look at those road conditions as you see it right there. She's on 87 in those southbound lanes coming in from Nightdale. You can see the intermittent windshield wiper going this morning. The raindrops right there on the lens. Definitely this morning you want to leave the house a little sooner than usual this morning because of some of the congestion we're seeing on the roadways this morning. Back here live in the WRAL Traffic Center, we have a couple of things that we definitely want to let you know about this morning in terms of your morning commute. There's a crash on the entrance ramp between East William Street and US 1 northbound. You can see the huge backup it's causing on US 1 this morning. I would recommend using Highway 540 as an alternate route this morning to avoid the backups you're seeing those northbound lanes coming in on US 1. We do do have another issue to tell you about this morning, as well as we've been following all your morning commute. This one is on Buffalo Road in the eastbound lane near I-540. That has been a real trouble spot for us this morning on I-540. You can see the huge backups it's causing weather on Buffalo Road. You can see the backups we're talking about on I-540 this morning. I know many of you use that as an alternate east-west route, so keep that in mind. Durant Road might be an alternate route for you this morning in terms of depending on where you are. Isolating the Beltline really quickly, you can see the usual morning congestion on the south side of the Beltline as well as the north side of the Beltline as well. You're looking at a 10-minute delay if you're about to head out this morning.
Ken, thank you. Raleigh police arrested a man in connection to a shooting that happened downtown last month. Cary police helped arrest 25-year-old Daniel Anderson yesterday. That happened at Cary's Crossroads Plaza. Anderson is charged in the shooting that happened August 25th on Fayetteville Street near Davie Street. A man was shot but expected to live. Anderson is charged with assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill. A Durham man will spend 6 years in prison because of a crash that killed a Duke employee. 26-year-old Daniel Watt was killed on the Durham Freeway in August of 2021. Gregory Coley pleaded guilty to felony death by motor vehicle. He was driving drunk and speeding at 143 miles per hour. That's when his car hit the lift vehicle in which Watt was traveling. Watt's family believes the plea deal was too lenient. This morning, a Pacific hurricane is slamming the southern coast of Mexico. Hurricane John made landfall as a Category 3 storm. The National Hurricane Center is warning of life-threatening storm surge and floods. More than 30 inches of rain could fall in some places. Thousands of people are evacuating their homes. Forecasters say John is likely to develop into drop to a tropical storm as it moves inland. World leaders are in New York City today for the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Leaders will discuss the wars raging in Ukraine, Sudan, and the Middle East. Here's John Lawrence.
Many of the most politically powerful people on the planet are in the Big Apple.
I couldn't be more grateful to my colleagues for taking the time here in New York to meet together.
The United Nations General Assembly is a yearly summit where leaders discuss global matters. The theme for the 2024 UNGA summit is Leaving No One Behind, acting together for the advancement of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for present and future generations.
When we come together, we can solve world problems.
The agenda includes meetings on rising sea levels and combating the threat of antimicrobial resistance to global health. And then there's the elephant in the General Assembly Hall. The current wars taking place across the world, including Lebanon, where hundreds of people were killed Monday in what officials there are calling the deadliest day of Israeli strikes in nearly 20 years.
We are seeing a wave of exodus and the targeting of residential areas.
Tensions remain high in the Mideast, where both Israeli and Hezbollah bombing attacks intensified this past weekend. U.S. officials have been calling for a de-escalation for months and will continue to do so at the summit.
Our message is, let us get to a cessation of hostilities in Gaza, and that will hopefully bring an end to all of this.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The UN Security Council is also holding a special meeting on Ukraine this afternoon. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is expected to speak. A Delta flight from Raleigh to Atlanta made an emergency landing in Greensboro. The plane left RDU Sunday morning, and less than an hour later, it landed at Piedmont Triad International Airport in Greensboro. The flight path from the website FlightAware shows how quickly the plane diverted to Greensboro. Delta says the plane had a mechanical issue with an engine. A man from Raleigh who was aboard saw an issue outside his window.
I lean over and look, and I'm seeing, flames in the window, not the window, but the wing is shaking. And it's fire. I mean, I can't believe it. At this point, we had to been maybe 15 or 20,000 feet in the air. And I'm thinking, this is not good. So I'm freaking out internally.
Understandably so. The plane had 142 passengers aboard, but no one was reported hurt. A California couple says a bear has lived beneath the crawl space in their home. And the homeowners say that the bear has returned every morning for at least 2 weeks. They've even named it Junior.
We're not at all afraid of him. He's just an old bear. He needed a place to make into a den.
We get bears, coyotes. I had a rabbit shoot through the yard, followed by a bobcat.
Kudos to them. They are calmer than I would be. Wildlife officials have been tracking the animal using a night camera, and they hope the bear will leave on its own. Dozens of Wake County schools are waiting on thousands of dollars worth of maintenance repairs to be done. How the district is working to address those problems later today. Plus, the first stage of the Complete 540 project is now complete. How this 18-mile expansion will help improve your morning commute. We, of course, are continuing to watch today's weather as it continues to push across the triangle. We'll have more reports coming up here on WRAL News.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Your time is 8:26. I am Chris Lovingood. We do want to get over to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner because your day is starting off pretty wet on your commute.
It is, and this is new. We have a flash flood warning for Durham City and then down south to the southern part of the county. This is where we've had up to 2 inches of rainfall already this morning, and you just need to be careful and just watch out for water on the roads. We expanded that over here into northern Wake County. It's a flood advisory, just meaning there could be some minor flooding there, but that flash flood warning in Durham County means that you really need to be vigilant about watching out there. We're definitely seeing some heavy rain in that area. We'll zoom in here, southern Durham County. I'm heading over into northern Wake County and then stretching all the way toward I-95. Lots of heavy rain out there around the Triangle area this morning. We take a look at our chances for rain. It continues through the afternoon and into the evening commute. Ken?
Happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, huge congestion building on most of our major roadways, including the Beltline, I-40 westbound, I-540, those 87 lanes coming in from Nightdale, as well as US 1 coming in from Wake Forest this morning. We, of course, have the WRAL Storm Tracker on the roads this morning. You can see Kelsey Coffey giving us a closer look at what the conditions there in Wake County, the intermittent movement of the windshield wipers. And keep in mind this morning, if your windshield wipers are going, make sure your headlights are on as well.
Thank you, Ken. Police say that a man is dead because he was shot on Holloway Street in Durham. This happened at 11:30 last night near North Hyde Park Avenue. Police found the man shot and he later died at the hospital. And this afternoon, Wake County school leaders will discuss maintenance work that's falling behind. The school board's facilities committee meets today to discuss nearly $800 million in deferred maintenance. That includes HVAC, roofing, and other work. Next on Fox 50, the warning about a series of car break-ins near NC State's campus.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Now on Fox 50, a man is dead because he was shot in Durham late last night. What we are learning about this investigation as police search for the person who did this.
And we have a new flash flood warning for parts of Durham County. We've seen as much as 2 inches of rainfall in that area this morning. I'll show you what that flash flood warning means and where we have more flood advisories.
And happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, we have the WRAL Storm Tracker out on the roadways, giving you a closer look at those road conditions this morning. I'll show you the trouble spots and the delays that many of you can face.
And thousands of ballots are going out today to those of you voting by mail. What election officials want you to know about changes since the 2020 election. Thanks so much for joining us here on WRAL News on Fox 50. I am Chris Lovingood. I do want to go right to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner because you've got that flood warning that's in effect right now. Where specifically are we talking about here?
So we're talking about the city of Durham and then all the way down to the Durham County line as adjacent to Wake County there. This is where we've had as much as 2 inches of rain, and it's a flash flood warning, meaning the water could come up very quickly, may recede very quickly, but areas that tend to flood pretty easily in this part of Durham County, you really need to watch out for water that could be across the roads. Don't ever drive into floodwaters. You know, we've had so much trouble over the last month with a lot of water, a lot of rain, a lot of water on the road. So just be careful out there. This is a flood advisory. That just means for parts of Durham and Orange County, including Wake County, we could have some minor flooding in this entire area where we've seen as much as 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rain. We take a look at the big picture and you can see that heavy rain spread across Durham, Wake, Orange County, and then down into Johnston County as well. We'll zoom in and you can see thunder and lightning with this as well. That heavy rain rain stretching down toward Wendell and then eventually down here into Johnston County as well, Wilson's Mills, Smithfield, and then even down toward Newton Grove. So lots of heavy rainfall out there for us this morning. It's likely to continue to move to the east over the next couple of hours, but we'll still have the potential for some heavy rain on and off during the afternoon and during the evening commute. So this is going to be with us for much of the day. This afternoon, about a 40 to 50% chance for rain. We take a live look at Durham right now. That rain is coming down heavily, 71 degrees. That's the area that's under the warning. And again, looking at about 79 for the high temperature today. We take a look at our tropical system, potential tropical cyclone 9. The storm is likely to become a hurricane in the next 24 hours, potentially making landfall as a category 3. And the path has shifted a little bit farther east. That means our rainfall totals could be a little higher. I'll show you what we could see on Friday. Coming up, Ken.
8:32, Elizabeth, a handful of incidents dotting a live traffic map combined with a dual Doppler 5000. You can see where the heaviest rain is falling. We do have the WRAL storm tracker out on the roadways this morning. Kelsey Coffey giving us a closer look at some of the road conditions on I-40. Kelsey.
Ken, right now we do see a little bit of a break in the rain, so we'll give you a live look now at road conditions. We have driven more than 100 miles this morning in the WRAL storm tracker all throughout Wake County, and we're really just seeing scattered showers. That rain is coming in heavy bands, so we'll be sure to stay on top of this for the rest of the morning and keep you updated on what your morning commute will look like. But Ken, in the meantime, can you tell us about any crashes that are out there?
Yeah, you're stuck in that traffic jam right now, and the good reason why we encourage people to leave your home a little sooner than usual this morning, just to be on the safe side. Watch for some ponding on the road, and don't forget, if your windshield wipers are going, make sure your headlights are on as well. A couple of trouble spots we want to bring to attention, mainly this one on US 1 in those northbound lanes. There's a crash in the entrance ramp there to Williams Road on US 1 North. You can see the huge backup it's causing. I would recommend interstate, or should I say Highway 540, as an alternate route to get around the mess you're seeing on US 1 as well. That should save you some time. There's an incident on Buffalo Road on I-540. There was a huge backup on Buffalo Road, but that's beginning to dissipate. But you can see the real trouble spot there on I-540 this morning. I just checked the sensors. You're looking at maybe a 20-minute delay on I-540 in those westbound lanes. So keep that in mind if you're about to head out this morning. We also want to really isolate the Beltline this morning and show you what's going on, because so many of you use the Beltline. You can see a lot of congestion building on the south side of the Beltline as well as the north side of the Beltline. Depending on where you get on the Beltline, you're looking at a 10 to 15-minute delay this morning.
Police say a man is dead because of a shooting on Holloway Street in Durham. This happened just after 11:30 last night. Investigators found that man with multiple gunshot wounds, and he was taken to the hospital where, again, he later died. Police do not have anyone in custody, at least not at last check. I want to point your attention to this right here, this woman. This woman is facing several charges in connection to a car crash that happened on Western Boulevard near Dix Park late last night. 29-year-old Diamond Kennedy has been charged with several counts of felony child abuse, reckless driving, and speeding too. Police say she was driving 60 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone when the car crossed the median and hit a tree. At least 3 people were hurt, including children under the age of 10. They were not wearing seatbelts. Kennedy is also being charged with driving with a revoked license and not wearing a seatbelt. A Johnston County deputy and another person are hurt after a crash during a chase that happened. Look at the damage here on your screen. Authorities say the deputy crashed with a pickup truck at the intersection of Brightleaf Boulevard and Ava Gardner Avenue. This happened in Smithfield around 8:30-ish last night. Both the deputy and the driver of the pickup are expected to be okay. The pickup truck was not the vehicle the deputy was chasing. That driver that they were chasing was able to get away. We are working to learn why the deputy started the chase to begin with. Students and staff at NC State are being warned about a series of car break-ins on campus. University police sent out an alert last night about 3 break-ins in Lee Lott. It also reported 4 break-ins on Varsity Drive and Fraternity Court in Greek Village. This followed an alert earlier in the day about a half-dozen break-ins at Stateview Hotel. The break-ins all happened over the weekend, but nothing was reportedly stolen. If you requested an absentee ballot for November's election, it's about to be on its way to your mailbox. Election officials will start mailing more than 166,000 ballots today. Here's WRAL's Laura Levine.
We have 42 days until Election Day, and starting this morning, the county boards of elections will place tens of thousands of absentee ballots in the mail over the course of the next few days. So far, county boards have received more than 207,600 absentee ballot requests for this election. This includes more than 19,000 requests from military and overseas voters. 102 ballots have been returned by military and overseas voters whose ballots were sent to them on Friday. Karen Brenton-Bell says election officials have been working long hours through the night and into weekends because of that court-ordered delay in voting in the case connected to RFK getting off the ballot. Meanwhile, North Carolina is one of 20 states the FBI is investigating after suspicious packages were sent to election officials. The state elections director says security is a #1 priority.
At the end of the day, the core, we are not going to be intimidated by this. We're going to do the core work, the very compass that drives us, and that is to ensure that every eligible voter is able to cast their ballot.
She emphasized the importance for people voting by mail to know that laws have changed since 2020. Ballots now have to be delivered back to the state by Election Day or else they won't be counted. So if you are voting by mail, remember the deadline to request an absentee ballot is Tuesday, October 29th. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Today, Wake County school leaders will take a look at hundreds of millions of dollars in maintenance work that's falling behind. The school board's facilities committee meets today to discuss that maintenance that's been deferred since this point. That includes HVAC, roofing, and other work. Leaders will look at a list of schools where maintenance upgrades are most needed. The facilities committee meets at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Today, city leaders will learn more about a plan to revamp part of downtown Raleigh. This right here, this is a look at a revamped version of the goal is to make it known as North Carolina's Main Street. Today, city leaders will discuss the final 3 phases of the plan with this project. Tonight, parents have a chance to ask questions in person about assignment plans for reassignment plans, that is, for Wake County schools. An open house is happening at Herbert Akins Road Middle School, in Fuquay Arena. That's from 6 to 8 o'clock tonight. The plan involves shuffling students from dozens of schools in the southern part of the county next fall. A final draft of the plan will be presented in November. Today, a ribbon cutting will mark the ceremonial opening of the first phase of the Complete 540 project. The North Carolina Turnpike Authority will host this ceremony. That is at 10 o'clock this morning. The road will officially open to drivers tomorrow morning at 6. The extension of NC 540 toll road will connect the NC 55 bypass in Apex to the interchange of I-40 and NC 42 in Garner. The next opponent for the Carolina Panthers will be coming into the game without a win this season. The Cincinnati Bengals fell to 0-3 with a home loss last night against the Washington Commanders, 38-33. Ouch. The Bengals will be at Bank of America Stadium to play the Panthers on Sunday afternoon. Meanwhile, Buffalo Bills fans have a lot to be happy about this morning. Their team dominated the Jacksonville Jaguars last night. The Bills took home a 47-10 win. They remain undefeated on the season, 3-0. DeMar Hamlin reached a career milestone during that Bills win. He intercepted Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence in the second quarter, and it's actually the first interception of Hamlin's career. Pretty exciting for him. 2 times 8:40. Boeing says it has made a final offer to get striking workers back on the job. What's in the offer and why some union members say that's not enough. Plus, we're hearing from a man who was taking his daily swim when he was attacked, how he fought off a sea lion that he first thought was a shark. And we do want to give you a live look at North Hills this morning. Anything but quiet. Definitely have heard some thunder, and you can clearly see there's some rain and clouds in the sky. It's been the wettest year on record so far, folks. Up next, meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner will show us how much more rain we see this week and where flooding will happen. All right, I want to get right to Elizabeth right now because you have a lot to talk about. You've got that flood warning and you have the tropics you're starting with.
We do. We're going to start off with this. Things have changed a little bit in the last 24 hours. It's looking like we may see a little bit more rain and windy conditions on Friday than it looked like yesterday. So Helene is forming in the Gulf. It has not become a tropical storm yet, but is likely to in the next 12 hours or so. The hurricane hunters are on their way to do some exploration of the storm and see if it has a closed circulation, in which case it would become a tropical storm and eventually a hurricane. Rain Rain and wind becoming more likely for us on Friday. Yesterday, it looked like maybe an inch of rain or so. Now we're looking at 2 to 3 inches. And we'll just continue to watch this. As the storm develops fully, we'll have a better idea of where it's headed and what the impacts here will be. But this is a look at the current forecast track as it moves northward. By the time we get to late today and into early tomorrow, it's likely to be a Category 1 storm. And then, of course, looking at somewhere along the west coast of Florida or around the Big Bend area. By Thursday afternoon, it's a Category 3 storm with winds at 115 and then moving almost due northward. Yesterday, the models are kind of swinging it back a little closer to Tennessee. For now, the forecast fan includes parts of western North Carolina. But the forecast fan, remember, is just where the center of the storm will be. This is going to be a big one that spreads rain, across North Carolina, including our viewing area, too. We take a look at some of the rainfall totals that we may see, and some of those are going to depend on how far east we see the impacts of that storm. And one of the things that we're watching is an interesting and unusual effect. Meteorologist Chris Michael is here to talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, exactly. And really something that you more commonly see in the Pacific is this phenomenon known as the Fujiwara effect. And basically it's two storm systems that are essentially dancing around one another. You've got the low pressure system onshore, you got the tropical system moving toward Florida. Well, eventually during that dance, one of them becomes more dominant. I'm going to show you how that plays out here as we head toward Thursday and Friday. There's system 1, system 2, the common center that they're dancing around. Watch as this one right here becomes more dominant, and it takes that tropical system and shoves it farther to the west into our mountains. Now let's go ahead and show you kind of a loop of how that's going on. You see that tug farther to the west. Now, if this area of low pressure is a little bit farther east, as Elizabeth was saying, you would see more rain. A lot of that has to do with the motion of the wind. You see that we've put the wind streams on there, the wind coming in out of the east and southeast and strong at times. So as that rises up the mountains, you get those higher rain totals and the potential for 1 to 3 inches here, most of that arriving Friday. Elizabeth?
Thanks, Chris. And you can see just how far that spreads in our direction from the center of the storm. And so our rainfall totals, as I mentioned, have gone up a little bit. So we're looking at 2 to 3 inches for a good bit of the viewing area, maybe 1 to 2 in our eastern counties. And look at this, 7 inches in the mountains. That will cause devastating flooding for the mountains. That area just can't take that much rain because the valleys funnel it down, and it just has such a big impact. So we'll be watching that very closely. Rain totals today for us are around 1 to 3 inches, looking at winds 30 to 45 miles per hour. Now, if any of that wobbles, which it probably will as the storm develops, we could see those numbers go up or down before it gets closer to landfall. Isolated tornadoes are a possibility. So this situation you really need to check back with. Then we have a serious situation this morning happening right now. Flash flood warning from the city of Durham southward toward the Wake County line. We've seen as much as 2 inches of rain there. If you start to see flooding, just make sure you don't drive your car through it. You can get stuck in it. And then a flood advisory, which just means more minor flooding possible here, stretching all the way into Wake County and for parts of Orange County, too. This is a look at the big picture of the rainfall stretching from Durham through North Raleigh all the way down toward Goldsboro now, and then up the I-95 corridor. The axis of the heaviest rain starting to shift a little farther east this morning. Heavy rain there in Durham, again, along the 540 corridor, up I-95, starting to become a bit heavier now and stretching, as I mentioned, all the way down toward Goldsboro, Smithfield, Wilson. You're all going to see that heavy rain. So far, we've seen almost 1.5 inches in Durham, almost an inch in Clayton, and a little over 1/2 inch officially in Raleigh. Futurecast showing this continuing on and off into the afternoon and affecting the evening commute as well. Our high today, 79. Of course, we're going to be very focused on what happens on Friday. Friday looks like the day that we would see most of the rain and impact from the tropical system.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Look at your screen here. New this morning, a Hope Mills man has turned himself in at the Cumberland County Detention Center. 25-year-old Douglas Chavis was wanted in a shooting that killed a man and hurt a woman. This happened on Chinquapin Court near Grays Creek yesterday afternoon. Authorities say, again, 30-year-old Nikki Savage was killed. A woman who was shot is in the hospital, and the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office has charged Chavis with first-degree murder. The U.S. says it does not support the escalation in attacks by Israel on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. Israel has dramatically expanded its assault on Hezbollah in recent days. Hundreds of strikes on Monday killed nearly 500 people. A senior State Department official says the Biden administration plans to work with allies to prevent the situation from spreading further. The official says the U.S. is taking Israel's preparations for a potential ground invasion of Lebanon seriously. An Idaho man is charged with threatening to kill former President Donald Trump in phone calls made to Mar-a-Lago. Court documents say Warren Crazy Bull made at least 9 threatening phone calls to the former president's home in July. The threats came shortly after Thomas Crooks shot Trump at a rally, hitting him in the ear and killing a bystander. Authorities say that a Facebook page believed to belong to Crazy Bull, again that's his name, contained further threats of violence toward Trump. Secret Service investigators detained him in August, and he pleaded not guilty to making the threats. Former President Donald Trump actually is planning to return to Butler, Pennsylvania. That's where Thomas Crooks shot him in the ear back in July. Trump has mentioned returning to the town, but it's not clear if the rally will still happen at the same venue. The Secret Service has urged Trump to avoid holding events outdoors because of the assassination attempts. Boeing says it's made a final offer to striking machinists. The offer includes an immediate 12% raise and a 30% raise over the 4-year life of the contract. Retirement benefits, that's another issue for workers. Boeing is offering to increase 401k contribution rates, but union members, well, they want the company to bring back its pension plan. The union has not commented on this new offer. We are getting a look at the plans to develop the area around the newly named Lenovo Center. Buildings northwest of Carter Finley Stadium make up a 27-acre entertainment district. Taller 40-story buildings along Edwards Mill Road are a 12-acre mixed-use development. The Carolina Hurricanes submitted their rezoning application to the city yesterday, and the plan calls for several types of businesses, including retail, entertainment, offices, and live-work areas. And we are hearing from a swimmer who says that a sea lion attacked him this past weekend at a San Diego beach. 2 people were actually attacked just hours apart on Friday. Matt Beatty was halfway done with his swimming when he felt more than just a tug. He thought it was a shark biting his leg, so he punched it. But he quickly realized it was a sea lion, and he wasn't sure why the animal attacked him.
This animal approached me for no reason at all that I can discern. There was no sign of a pup or other sea lions. It was just a random attack.
He was eventually rescued by a boogie boarder and lifeguard, and then ended up in the hospital where he's healing. A woman was snorkeling when she was attacked by the sea lion, and she says even though she was wearing a wetsuit, she had to receive 5 stitches in her thigh. Marvel is revealing the first look at a new action-packed movie. Ashley Dvorkin has that and more in the Hollywood Nation.
There are bad guys, and there are worse guys.
Thunderbolts team up, The Boss live in Jersey, and the Tonys return to Radio City in today's Hollywood Nation. The Tony Awards will return to Radio City Music Hall in New York City for the 78th annual ceremony, honoring the top shows on Broadway in the 2024 through 2025 season. The Tonys air Sunday, June 8th on CBS and stream on Paramount+. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band have released a live album of their Asbury Park, New Jersey show about a week after the concert. The September 15th quick turnaround of the hometown performance is available on CD and streaming.
Look at you. So adorable.
In today's First Looks, the teaser trailer for the Marvel Studios action-packed adventure Thunderbolts debuted. The superstar cast of this unlikely band of misfits teaming up includes Florence Pugh, David Harbour, and Sebastian Stan. The film is in theaters May 2nd, 2025.
Rome has taken everything from me, but I will have my vengeance.
Plus, there's another look at Gladiator 2. A new trailer for director Ridley Scott's epic sequel has been released. The ancient Rome story of power, intrigue, and vengeance stars Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, and Pedro Pascal. It's in theaters November 22nd.
The odds are against you. The odds are always against me.
That was Ashley Dvorkin reporting. Before we go to break, here's a look at your winning lottery numbers.